Welcome everybody to the very first Podcast But Wrestling episode. This is episode 1. I just do want to let you know that I did reference the podcast name as Always Learning Wrestling, but a friend of mine, as we were taking a walk down the park, came at me with a very good idea to just call it Podcast But Wrestling. So this is the very first episode of Podcast But Wrestling. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be the time period of January to February of everything that happened in New Japan so far. You will learn why I am doing New Japan this year and only New Japan this year, or primarily New Japan this year in the episode, and I will take episode me to take it away. So, hope you guys enjoy it. This is a Podcast With Wrestling. 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 Welcome everybody to the Always Learning Wrestling podcast. I am your host Julian, or Paper Penguin 17. You can call me Paper, you can call me Penguin, you can call me Julian, whichever you feel comfortable with. This is the podcast where I talk about my journey of wrestling and getting back into it after another hiatus of watching it, or not watching it and being a part of it. This is also just my excuse to essentially follow through with keeping up with the storylines of New Japan, as I am going to Japan at the end of the year to watch Wrestle Kingdom, to explore Japan, but most importantly, yes, to watch Wrestle Kingdom. That's one of the big things there. I've always loved wrestling. I tried to wrestle myself. I have a win-loss record of 1 win and 3 losses. I was never really that good of a performer in the ring because I had a lot of performance anxiety, and I very much struggled with keeping in line of what was supposed to happen and paying attention and listening. I also had a list of injuries that got me down. An extra bone in my foot, which caused a lot of irritation and prevented me from walking or running. I tore my ACL. I've gotten DVT. A lot of things have prevented me from coming back physically. We're not going to get into the emotional side of that because that's another story for another time. But this podcast is, again, an excuse for me to walk through and follow New Japan from Wrestle Kingdom 17 all the way up to Wrestle Kingdom 18 to make sure I'm up to date, ready, and aware of what's happening when I show up to the Tokyo Dome January 4, 2024. So today's episode will be run down pretty quick. There will be a lot of side notes and not a lot of details, as I am trying to jam-pack the entire month of January and February of the New Japan calendar of the main show. A lot of this is going to be my thoughts and things that I find interesting. As I do not have a lot of time, I'm not really going to be able to sit through every single 2-hour, 3-hour show that Japan throws out or NJPW throws out. So a lot of it is going to be quick thoughts and quick action. The New Japan Cup is currently happening as I am recording this, and I will be recording my thoughts and my follow-through for the New Japan Cup there. So let's get started. That's enough preamble. We'll jump in with Wrestle Kingdom 17, and I have a list here of all of the matches as well as some notes that I put down. We'll fly through these and we'll kind of stop through matches that I find interesting, or spots that I found interesting, or even story beats that were either closed or set up through the year. I'm really looking forward to how they're going to build the long-term storytelling of the year and seeing how New Japan actually does a cycle of it. I followed it quite sparingly back then around, the hype of Kenny Omega and all of that. The Kenny Omega Kazuchika Okada battle. That was kind of my jumping point, and this year I want to actually give it my full time, give it my full respect. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not paying attention to WWE or Impact or Ring of Honor or AEW in that instance. This will just be purely, at least for Always Learning Wrestling, a New Japan show for the time being. Okay, so the first match was very strange because I did watch the whole show. Ryohei Oiwa and Bolton Oleg. I was so confused that it was just a 3-minute match. I'm very impressed. Bolton Oleg is a cool name. And my essential rating for this is I won't show my brothers. It was just good little grappling. I enjoyed seeing that, and it did get my brain going for, or it engaged my brain in a way that told me that, oh, I'm watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's going to be a different type of attention that I give it to. The next match was the KOPW 2023 Right to Challenge, or the New Japan Rambo. It was really confusing. I'm not really sure what the KOPW was. The announcers didn't really let me know anything. I know it like lets you challenge the champion or something along those lines. The takeaway for this match specifically was that Great Okan is so fun to watch. It's my first instance ever watching the Great Okan, and I just love the way that he moves and he acts and like carries himself. Like everything seems to have a meaning. Everything really plays into his like kind of brutal and destructive side. So that was fun. The rating that I have for this one is that I will not show my brothers this match. The next was the Antonio Inoki Memorial 6-man tag. I didn't really watch this one. I feel bad for the older wrestlers because I'm sure they're great in their own right, but I just did not engage. And yes, you know, Tiger Mask was there, Makabe was there, Suzuki was there. Like, just to watch Minoru Suzuki usually is a thing that I would do, but I didn't for this time. The rating on that one, I will not show my brother. Most of the ratings will literally just be, is it fun enough to show my brother? Then it's good for the casual people. But in my instance, it's like, when I show a match with my brother, it's going to be like a fun time watching with him. The first match of the night was the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Leo Rush and Yo versus Akira and TJP. They were defending. So this, again, from my understanding, is the culmination of the Best of the Super Junior Tag League. Pretty cool to see Leo Rush. Pretty cool to see everyone in the ring. I was familiar with everyone besides Akira and like Francesco Akira, and it's cool to see that. I think Kevin Kelly mentioned that he was the first ever Italian to ever step in Tokyo Dome or something along those lines. Pretty cool. Leo Rush's blood really helped with the match after taking the bump, and it really made it feel intense, and it really made it feel like, you know, the team of Leo and Yo were just really trying to claw their way into fighting, you know, the unstoppable, what it felt like, the unstoppable Akira and TJP. What else did I write? It's very good defense, very entertaining match. I got no other notes. I don't really remember too much of it since that was about 2 months ago when I last watched it. The rating that I put down is that I will show my brothers the match. It's pretty cool. Really enjoy Akira and how he moves. That's just another thing. Second match, we got Tam Nakano versus Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship. It's my first time seeing Stardom wrestling in a very long time. The last time I watched Stardom, or the last Stardom matches that I watched, I was watching Toni Storm wrestle. But it was dope to see Kairi wrestling again. I haven't seen her since NXT, or when she moved to the main roster those days. My timeline of wrestling, I was really into like the golden era of NXT. I ended when it became... So I kind of started in when Sammy won the title, the NXT title, and I ended around the time NXT became 2 hours and Undisputed Era was kind of breaking down around that time. So yeah, I've seen Kairi move to the main roster and like do her stuff a little bit. So I haven't seen it in a long time, but watching her wrestle is still cool. The Pirate Princess still rocked it. Tam Nakano is a wild performer. Like, I enjoyed the match. But the best part of the match, from my notes, were the entrances. I don't know why, but the way they both came out, the way they had their gear, it felt very important, and it felt like there was a lot to this match. Obviously, the big story here to follow was Mercedes Moné and her debut. Really unlucky with the finish, and she was trying to perform on Kairi, but it did make an impact though for myself, because I was curious where the formerly known wrestler Sasha Banks was gonna go, and Mercedes Moné, or Mercedes Money, great name. Her gear looked good. I like the vibe of her. It's very much in your face and very much about herself and how she holds herself, so that was cool to see. This was a match I would show my brother, as he is a Kairi fan. Moving along to the third match, the World Tag League winners Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto versus FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Hardwood for the IWGP Tag Team Championship match. Dude, seeing the top guys wrestle is just so fun. I've been a big fan of the Revival, or FTR, or whatever you want to call them, since they were wrestling Gargano and Ciampa, like the DIY Revival days. Very good matches. I think it was Takeover Toronto, that I'm still very much a fan of. Like, those guys can go, and I did watch their match in AEW versus the Young Bucks. Big fan of FTR. Just loved it. What else did I say on my notes? Yeah, oh my god. Okay, so this one's kind of rough, but I can't get on board with Yoshihashi. I don't know what it is. Goto is fine. He had his battle with Suzuki when I was watching Japan before, or New Japan before, and that was cool to see Goto go hard. Or was that not even Goto? Maybe it wasn't even Goto. Whatever. But like, just looking at Yoshihashi and like his character and stuff, I just can't get on board. I can't cheer for him as a face. I don't hate him as a heel. I just don't fully understand Yoshihashi. I can't get over for him. Like, Goto's fine. I can get over Goto. I can really like cheer for, and I'm like really, really like, I'm not a fan, but I will sit down and watch Goto if he's there. But if it's Yoshihashi, my brain will turn off. I would show my brother highlights of this match. He's not a huge FTR Revival fan, but it's still good to see them wrestle, and it's still good to see the spots that they did it. Congratulations to Yoshihashi and Goto for taking the titles from FTR. It was a good match. Sad to see them lose, but, you know, they probably have another plan, or they're going to go to the WWE at some point soon. Alright, we're moving on to the fourth match, and it was the World TV Championship Tournament. I like this. The idea of the World TV title is cool, with the 15-minute match, a 15-minute time limit in the match. Ren Narita versus Zack Sabre Jr. It's actually really cool to see Zack work this way, and for Zack to win the title. The match was awesome. It was still, you know, like your typical Zack Sabre Jr. match where he puts you in a bunch of holds and you gotta get out. But Ren was a very good foil to Zack in that aspect, where he also put him in holds and he put him in strikes, and it was like just a good, like, it just felt like a good match. Post match, it was cool to see Kimmy from Smosh's boyfriend. I'm joking. Shane Haste and what was the other dude's name? I forgot. But TMDK was essentially formed with Zack Sabre Jr. as the leader, or they brought over Zack Sabre Jr. as the leader. Very cool to see. I got more thoughts on Zack Sabre Jr. later on, so we will talk about him more with the title. But overall, this match is, again, another highlight show. My brother's not a huge fan of Zack Sabre Jr., but just, I get it. Like, sometimes there's something about him that you just can't watch. But for me, I did enjoy the match. Everything is still clean. Zack Sabre Jr. is still top notch, so I can't fault it. I skipped this one. The next one, match number 6, Keiji Muto in his last match in New Japan. I feel bad because I was never really... I don't know Keiji Muto. I didn't get to watch the Great Muta. That was before my time. And I was also not allowed to watch wrestling at the time. But it's cool to see that Naito is very much involved in this match, and Sanada as well. Will not show my brother the spot that I kind of remember. Oh yeah, the spot that I remember was Muto going for the moonsault, and Tanahashi going to him and be like, chill, you're too old to be doing this shit. Like, stop, please, like, relax. That was a cool little spot, but I skipped over to the next match, which was the 7th match of the card. The Junior Heavyweight, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship Fatal 4-Way. It seems like there's a Fatal 4-Way every year. Because the last time I watched a Fatal 4-Way, I think it was like... I forgot who was actually in it, but there was another Fatal 4-Way where Hiromu also won. So the combatants, or the participants in this match, was Master Wato, El Desperado, Hiromi Takahashi, and Taiji Ishimori. This honestly was a great match. It was my first time watching Master Wato. He was awesome. He moves really well. He looks pretty cool, and you know, I wasn't sure. Like, Master Wato as a name was like really odd to me, but it makes sense. I feel like it fits his name, it fits his style, and he can really go. Desperado, also very cool, not just because of his like gear and his mask, but you know, he moved very well. And interestingly enough, I am practicing or learning Japanese, so the katakana, which is I'm still struggling with that. I know a lot of people find it easy, but for me it's kind of hard. Desperado's katakana does help me learn, and he was also very good. My notes on Ishimori: coolest looking gear out of everyone, best physique, and just great moves. Like, he's short, but his power moves are like really there. Like, his his skill set and his like move set is very much a part of what he looks like, and that's something that I would like to strive to if I ever get back into wrestling, is that I make sure that I'm believable for what I look like and what moves I will be performing. And finally, there is Hiromu. He's just someone I enjoyed watching from the start. When I first started watching New Japan, I got into LIJ and trying to follow them. This is a very sports entertaining match. Very much sports entertained. A lot of big spots, a lot of good like falls, like near falls and stuff like that. The rating I would give this one was to show my brother. Obviously, it was a great fatal four-way. I think he would enjoy it. And finally, the next two matches, the double main event. We start off with the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. The champion, Will Ospreay, defending against Kenny Omega. Fucking crazy that Kenny Omega came out with the Sephiroth theme and did come out as Sephiroth. And the United Empire, my first time seeing them as a whole. Very cool. I love their look. I love their design. And the makeup of the faction just feels right for a United Empire, like around the world kind of a vibe. So that was awesome to see. What did I see for notes? Ospreay really felt like a babyface, and Kenny felt like the heel, which the things that I was seeing online, I don't know if it was just because it was fan opinion and all of those things, it did feel like Ospreay was the heel coming into this match, but the way they wrestled it, the way they told the story, it was Ospreay really, really reaching to be a face at some certain points of the match. It felt weird because Ospreay was just getting beaten senseless, and I can just remember and recall the moments where he was out for the count. Yeah, there's a lot of beatdowns for like there's a lot of the time was just Ospreay being beaten down, and there was a story being told by Kevin Kelly where he looked to be knocked out or he looked to be gone. In all honesty, my notes say here that I was honestly surprised that Kenny won. I thought Ospreay was gonna continue to do more work with the U.S. title, but they may be setting up for things in the future, like Ospreay versus Naito heading into Wrestle Kingdom 18 as the main event. The only reason I say that is because taking the title of Ospreay is gonna build like a redemption story type thing. And I remember there was a time, not even a time, but like the way they booked Naito versus Okada for the Wrestle Kingdom after the Omega Okada thing happened was that Naito was very much clawing his way and trying to redeem himself, and I feel like that's what's going to happen between these two. So either way, the story of Ospreay losing to Kenny, gaining a harder edge, or figuring out something to make him win is probably where they're gonna go. But you know, I don't know if the story will conclude in the New Japan Cup or the G1. I just have that feeling that Naito may be in Wrestle Kingdom 18 or headlining 18 because Kevin Kelly wouldn't stop talking about it. They wouldn't stop saying that that's Naito's next goal or that's Naito's like number one thing. So that could either just be Kevin Kelly trying to make a story out of something, or it just might be the way that Naito took the interview. But either way, it was interesting to see the way things are potentially being laid out or potentially being built. So I'm kind of excited that's the main event, like Ospreay Naito for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. That would be really cool, but we'll see. And finally, the most notes that I have for all of the matches, the main event, or the second of the double main event, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. The challenger, winner of the G1 Climax, Kazuchika Okada, versus the current champion and the fifth champion, Jay White. This was a true banger. I enjoyed this thoroughly. Jay White going against Okada was so fun to see. I haven't seen much of Jay White wrestling in New Japan since he debuted. That's when I kind of fell off of wrestling. But seeing how he's changed and how he controls the ring, and how it just felt like it was his ring. And yes, you know, Okada was labeled that night as the final boss. I don't know if he was labeled that night, but I heard it that night as the final boss of professional wrestling. Seeing just Jay White just felt very much in control of it, and Okada was just playing off of Jay, which was really cool because usually Okada's like the guy who takes the focus and everything. Yeah, Jay looked to be orchestrating a lot of the attention and really bringing to light the asshole that people want to see. So he was really like setting himself up to be beaten by Okada, which was awesome. Really good pop for the crowd, really good like feel good story to finish the night. He showed a lot of desperation and trying not to lose the title and overall emotion. So in a way, like, yes, he was the asshole heel, and yes, he was the I guess not overconfident, but you know, the confident person, but that desperate person who wants to hold on to the top and hold on to the belt. Like, it shows that he does have a love for the company. It shows that he does have a love for New Japan, and he wants to continue to conquer it. That was really like shown to me during the entire match. What else did I say? His accolades, his skill, and domination throughout his career really helps. Well, that's in reference to Okada being the final boss of professional wrestling. And Okada being the babyface just meant that he had to wrestle and win the match. Jay brought the character and storytelling of the Switchblade era falling, and honestly, I made a mistake not tuning in sooner and experiencing the Switchblade era with him as the lead. So this is a definitely show my brother match, and that is very much true. I do feel disappointed that I missed Jay White's intro, or like his reign in New Japan, or like missing the Switchblade era, because the following shows are going to reference it there. For now, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to see what our sponsor has to say. Thank you so much to our sponsors, patreon.com/paperpenguin17. As you know, this is the very first episode of a very small podcast out of nowhere. Out of the hundreds and thousands of podcasts that are out there, I'm just putting this spot into the videos just to make it feel more comfortable that we have podcasts, just to make it more comfortable that we have sponsorships, just to open myself up to the possibility. I don't really expect this to go anywhere, but in case it happens, we have this kind of feeling going on. So shout out to my one patron so far on patreon.com/paperpenguin17. I'm not going to call out their name just for privacy purposes, but you know who you are. I really appreciate the support, and thank you for getting onto that tier. We're going to be increasing tiers there to facilitate YouTube videos and suggestions for videos, maybe matches that you would like me to deep dive in for wrestling, or even deep dive in certain games. Anything and everything there can come through Patreon, and I would appreciate the support if you guys would have the extra funding. Also, shout out to my other endeavors, twitch.tv/paperpenguin17. That was kind of like my hottest start in terms of doing content creation and being like a creator online, so I very much enjoyed that there. You can see me on youtube.com/@paperpenguin17, as well as the paperpenguin17 VODs. The YouTube channel is just my short form videos or shorter videos. I am a scrub, as you heard my phone buzz, but we're gonna keep it rolling. Paper Penguin VODs if you want to see the Twitch VODs, Jumbled Radio Online if you want to see the podcasts and where this podcast is found. I don't think I have an RSS feed yet or a home. We are going to work towards that there and make sure that it is available for you in case you want to listen to this on the go. But for now, thank you for even just watching. I consider you a sponsor at this point because you are just taking in the content. And for those that have helped financially or given me just a little bit of money out of their pockets, I do appreciate that there. So we'll jump straight back into the podcast, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of the episode. Okay, so we are going to quickly flash by all of the shows up until Battle in the Valley, and I'll see if there's any matches that stick out to me and little comments that I may have that come through with it. So we'll start off with New Year's Dash. This is going to be very quick. I haven't watched these in 2 months, and I'm going to just try and get through what I picked up. And then we'll go through some of the notes that I have had after watching all of the shows and like watching the storylines go. All right. New Year's Dash, there was the 6-man tag, Ren Narita, Tiger Mask, Honma versus Togo, Yujiro, and Evil. Did not watch that one. Akira, TJP, and Osprey versus Doki, Kanemaru, and Taichi. I did watch that one. That was really good. Doki is so impressive. Doki just feels so fun to watch, and like the way that Kevin Kelly is like, or like the commentary team in New Japan is building him up, feels really good. Feels very underdog, and I'm like, every time I see Doki, I'm like, let's effing go. Let's see him go. I want to see him work. The next match was TMDK versus Yoshihashi, Ishii, and Goto. That was just kind of a build-up match for the tag team title match in the next show. Yo, Taguchi, Shota Umino, Makabe versus Bushi, essentially LIJ versus Bushi, Hiromu, Sanada, and Naito. I don't remember anything that happened there. There was another fatal 4-way, a 8-man tag. That one I feel like was just building to Hikuleo versus Jay White and Tamatonga versus El Fantasmo. Oh yeah, no, it also built for Wato Taiji later on, so we're not going to pay attention to that one. The KOPW 2023 4-way match was cool. Shingo Tagaki won that one. Again, Great Khan is so impressive. I can't. It was good. And then the tag match was actually really fun. Kenny Omega and Okada versus Hinare and Jeff Cobb. Great little tag match there if you guys want to watch two champions just hanging out and fighting and doing fun stuff. Actually, like a pretty decent show. I know it was like a random, they didn't have the card beforehand and everything was a surprise kind of a show. So that was fun. I'm going to skip Wrestle Kingdom 17 because that was the New Japan versus Noah, and I really did not understand a lot of it. Like, I didn't understand the builds for it, and that's just me not being educated enough. And that's pretty much it. I know that there was the lead. I'm kind of like burying the lead with the Okada. Was this the match with Okada? Excuse me. Is this the... Yes, no? Yes, it was. Okada and Makabe versus Kiyomiya and Inamura. But again, I wasn't there for it. It didn't click with me, so we're kind of skipping that one. New Beginning in Nagoya. The big matches here were... Oh yeah, Shingo Tagaki versus Great Khan. That was weird. It was the martial arts match, which ended up turning into a wrestling match. I really turned off for this show. Not a lot clicked with me, not a lot was interesting to me, but that's fine. Not everything's going to be a banger. Not every show is going to be like the greatest show ever. Moving on to Road to the New Beginning. This was in Tokyo Korakuen Hall, January 24. After Great Khan losing, he has to wrestle a young lion. I think they described it as like falling to the back of the line kind of a thing. He wrestled Ryohei Oiwa, which was the young lion that was wrestling in the opening match for Wrestle Kingdom, or the opening pre-show match. Moving on. Michinoku Doki. A lot of this I think I just skipped. Yeah, I skipped the show, I think. I guess there was hints of like Umino versus Naito and Takagi versus Okada for the actual New Beginning, so that's a skipped show. Next one on the 25th. Is there anything I watched on this one? I did not watch this show. Or I just don't remember any part of the show, which kind of makes sense, so we're skipping that one. New Beginning in Sapporo. I think this is it. This is the New Beginning in Sapporo. What were the matches? Oh, here we go. Now I'm kind of aware. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. Doki and Kanemaru of Just 4 Guys. God, I love that team. Just 4 Guys is so cute. I know they're not going to win a lot of things, but I love their vibe of just 4 dudes who are friends in a team trying to take over New Japan. It's really adorable. And you got Akira and TJP defending their titles. This was where Doki was sold so highly to me. Like, the way that every little bit of Doki was performed and the way that they made me believe that they were going to win. I was so excited. Because Doki, I don't know how long he's been in New Japan. I don't know how long he's done certain things, but I very much was on board and I was very much cheering for Just 4 Guys to win, but obviously Akira and TJP too good. They're very much going to carry those tag titles for a while, I think, and they're good ambassadors for the title, like top-notch wrestlers. They told a great story with I think TJP getting his leg messed up so they couldn't do his finish. But yeah, the takeaway from that one is that Doki was 10 out of 10. This next match as well was like, dude, I keep getting reminded that Taichi is such a good performer. And that one of these days, like I just really want him to get a shot at one of these singles titles. I don't know which one, but like watching him go was crazy good. This one kind of built in the story for me that Ospreay was going in a different direction or going to become more brutal because of the way that this match was performed. Yeah, I don't remember much else about it. I just know that Ospreay was very strong and evil and, doing Ospreay things, and Taichi was just cool. I just remember Taichi being awesome. The next match was a bit of a letdown. Shota Umino versus Tetsuya Naito. Umino is very much giving me the idea that he's the next, Tanahashi, which I'm not sure how well that's going over or under in, the fan base, but people seem to like him. He's very much, trying to annoy Naito and trying to, piss Naito off, because Kevin Kelly kept saying something along the lines of, Shota Umino is what Naito wanted to be, or, Shota Umino is trying to be what Naito wanted to be in that line. There was a bit of weird spots here and there. It didn't look as clean as it was, but I'm interested in Shota Umino. I want to see where he goes. He looks great. He's got a great moveset. Naito, very much of a big fan. I was cheering for him way back when I was still following, or when I was following, so it was fine. The match wasn't that great. It didn't really have a lasting impression, besides the fact that they kept selling the idea of Red Shoes being the father of Shota Umino, and whether or not Red Shoes will call the match down the line, which I thought was weird. I'm sure Red Shoes knows how to be a professional in kayfabe, and of course he wouldn't miscall a match just for Shota. It just felt like they were really grasping at straws for not a story, but for some sort of story, some sort of through line for them to follow through with. The next night, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tomo Ishii. That was fine. The tag titles being defended, TMDK versus Yoshihashi and Goto. Again, that was fine. Nothing that I can think of that really stood out. It was okay. It's good that Zack Sabre Jr. got to defend the title. That was nice. Nothing more, nothing less to say. It didn't stick to me, and I am, 2 months ahead. The main event for that one was Yo versus Hiromu. Very good match. Yo in the all black is a bit weird. I'm used to him being in more brighter colors. Really? Is that really true? Yo Roppongi 3K. What did he look like back then? I guess he was still wearing black, so it's not too different. Also, yeah, it was a surprise for me that Roppongi 3K broke up. I thought they were just going to be hella tag title winners for the longest of times, but I guess not. Anyway, next show, New Beginning in Osaka, cheering event. I forgot what this was. Oh, yes. Tanahashi, Kenta, Master Wato. Dude, Master Wato, Taiji Ishimori, what a good match. They just worked with each other so well. The story they told felt really good, and I would like to see them wrestle more in the future. Tanahashi, Kenta, I don't remember much besides people or them saying that not Kenta, but Tanahashi lost his teeth to a protein bar. Kind of sad that I didn't remember too much from it. Suzuki, Desperado, and Narita. Oh yeah, they won the never openweight 6-man tag from, I forgot what they were called. House of Horrors or something. I gotta find out. But I didn't really pay attention to that match. I know I probably should have, but I didn't. It really didn't click with me. Just for guys go. Where is the house of the Butcher House or whatever they're called? I didn't know. Anyway, moving on. Jay White versus Hikuleo. Pretty good match. Hikuleo was really good. He moved well. He was so he played that monster big man role really well, and the choke slam that he does is really crazy. But Jay White was also 10 out of 10 in this one. Again, just showing the desperation and the want to stay there, and he was really, really, really good in the portrayal of someone who was losing it, and losing the things that they've built, losing the journey, and watching his whole kingdom and empire crash down. That was so fun to see. Yeah, congratulations to Hikuleo for the win and the never openweight championship match. Did I talk about Carl Anderson and Tama Tonga? I don't think I did at Wrestle Kingdom. I skipped them. Well, just quickly, that match was really good. Watching Carl just wrestle in a singles match in Japan, my God, he's so good. It's such a reminder that he's so much more than what he was in the club in the WWE, because the club was my first, at least the club in the WWE was my first interaction or exposure to Carl Anderson. Tama Tonga, Carl, and El Phantasmo had a great match. Phantasmo, so good. I don't know what, with Jay White leaving, I don't know if he should be the leader of the Bullet Club. And from what I have seen from the New Japan World Cup, it really feels like he should. He really has that vibe about him where he can wrestle those big matches and just show himself as the leader. I don't know. It feels like he's got it. I'm cheering for Phantasmo to be a bigger role in the company, or at least have more big matches in the future, because he is fun to watch. And the next one, the main event, was the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship of Okada versus Takagi. Hard-hitting match. Very cool to see. Takagi was kind of over, it sounded like. The crowd was really cheering for him. And Okada, was kind of heelish. It was interesting. Maybe it's a different direction, but Okada, typical fashion, wins the match. Nothing much else that I remember. And Takagi really showing out and getting his respect. The end of the show, Okada challenged Tanahashi to a match for Battle in the Valley, and we're going to move now to Battle in the Valley. I skipped a lot of things. I watched the opening 20-minute match with Rocky Romero, Josh Alexander, Adrian Quest, Mascara Dorada versus Volador Jr., Kushida, Kevin Knight, and the DKC. That was a pretty good match. I don't remember too much of it. Fred Rosser, Mr. No Days Off versus Kenta. What a good match. I enjoyed that one too. Kenta just having the chance to wrestle and do his thing. And this is my first time seeing Fred Rosser wrestle since the WWE. And seeing him just do big moves and tell a story like that was really cool. So congratulations to him. Strong open weight title. I lost to Kenta. Kenta now with the strong open weight title, or strong, what's it called? Is the strong heavyweight title or the strong open weight? I can't remember, but either way, interested to see what Kenta does with it. I guess I might watch more New Japan Strong. We'll see. I don't really have much time, and it's not really that interesting to me. Strong open weight tag champs. What's it called? Motor City Machine Gun versus Jorel Nelson and Royce Isaacs. I forgot what they were called, but they were very cool. First time watching them wrestle. I've seen Motor City Machine Gun wrestle before. They're very good, and that was just a banger of a match. Can't really say much. I don't remember much of the moves. I just know I had a good time watching it. Eddie Kingston versus Jay White. Great show. Jay White's final match in New Japan. And kind of interested to see where David Finlay goes, or what they do with him, because is he the next guy to be the leader of the Bullet Club? Is it El Phantasmo? I'm not 100% sure. But this was my first Eddie Kingston match. This is going to be such a lot of firsts, and I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated, but I've had a hiatus with wrestling. It's been a long time since I've sat down and watched shows. I don't know what else to say, but Jay White, man, Jay White's so good. I hope wherever he goes next, he's got a good opportunity there, and they can make the most of him, or he can make the most of the situation. Moving on to the Filthy Rules fight, Homicide versus Tom Lawler. I enjoyed Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler was really funny. He was very brutal. He was very, I don't know, just the way he held himself was very cool to see. I want to watch more Tom Lawler. I want to see more Tom Lawler. I'm interested to see what he is like in a normal match, and not, a gimmick match with no ropes. Good match, even with the no ropes. They both went, and it was cool. Good match. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Clark Connors. Joseph Connors, I think, is what I know him as from WCPW. This is good. This is really fun. Clark Connors showed out. It was it really felt like Zack Sabre was put on the ropes, or his back was behind against the wall when it was happening. So very fun to see. Good little match. Only if you're like interested in it. I'm not gonna say go out of your way to watch it, but like if you stumble upon it, definitely sit down and watch it. And then the double main event of Kairi versus Mercedes Moné, as well as the other one, which was Okada versus Tanahashi. Kairi and Mercedes were the main event. I feel like they should have been the main event or the final match, because that match was so much. I just had so much into it. From Mercedes kind of playing heel, Kairi just trying to be brutal and show her like the New Japan style. Mercedes really felt comfortable, or at least it felt comfortable. It felt like normal watching her in a ring or perform in a match like that. The big spot of the table I don't think was necessary per se, because I feel like the story that they were telling was really good, but it did like add a lot to it, so maybe it was necessary. I don't know. I enjoyed it either way. It was really fun and interesting. I'm interested to see where Mercedes goes with the IWGP World Heavyweight or the IWGP Women's Championship. Not 100% sure, because she did win on her debut match, so that's quite big, and dethroning none other than Kairi was like a huge thing for that. Yeah, good match. And finally, Okada versus Tanahashi. That kind of was a letdown. I thought there was going to be a lot more to it, but maybe Monet and Kairi took too much time, or something went wrong, or that was just the plan, and it was just going to be a regular match. When Okada was closing out the show and saying that they showed the world what New Japan Pro Wrestling was like, I feel like, no, there's like so much more to it. And I know those two dudes can go much more, I know those dudes are capable of so much more. It just felt weird that Rainmaker ended it. Or was it even a Rainmaker that ended? I don't even remember. It felt weird. It felt weird. But it wasn't too bad. Okada's second defense ever since winning the title. Kinda odd. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for the show. And I guess that's it for the first episode. Thank you for listening. If you have gotten it this far, there will be another episode coming out. Check out JRO or Jumbled Radio Online on YouTube. I'll try to set this up for Spotify, so it should be up on Spotify, so hopefully sometime soon. Let's just actually jump into that there. So that was the very first episode of the Podcast But Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I know that outro was kind of sucky towards the end, but I just want to just add there, this is called the Podcast But Wrestling Podcast. I'm going to just kick it out to our closing song. It's a minute long, so if you need to skip it, skip it. But if it's your first time listening to the song, give it a listen. I'm very proud of it, even though it was like crappily made in like 2 minutes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the first episode. I'll catch you guys next time. This has been Podcast But Wrestling, Episode 1, New Japan, January through February 2023. Goodbye!
Butter Wrestling, it's a podcast, but wrestling, PBW, 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 Podcast But Wrestling, PBW, 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 Podcast But Wrestling. Not peanut butter wrestling, it's a podcast, but wrestling. Not peanut butter wrestling, it's a podcast, but wrestling. Not peanut butter wrestling, it's a podcast, but wrestling. Not peanut butter wrestling, it's a podcast, but wrestling. This is a podcast, but it's wrestling. This is a podcast, but it's wrestling. This is a podcast, but it's wrestling. This is a podcast about wrestling. This is not about peanut butter.